It's 11:52 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're lying in bed, phone in hand, screen brightness all the way down because your roommate is asleep 3 feet away. You open your banking app. Not because you want to, because you have to. The number stares back at you, $214. You have 6 days until payday. You do the math in your head. Rent, share, phone bill, groceries. The number doesn't work. It never works. You close the app. You open it again. Like somehow it changed. It didn't. You're 25. You have a job. You show up every day. You're not lazy. You're not stupid. And yet, you feel broke in a way that has nothing to do with money. You feel behind. Like everyone else got a manual you never received. And the worst part, you saw this coming. You just thought it would fix itself. This is the story of what happens when it doesn't. And what happens when it finally does. Stay with this, because one of these two paths belongs to you. Immersion phase. Your alarm goes off at 7:14 a.m. You hit snooze, not because you're tired, because there's no reason to rush toward a day that feels exactly like yesterday. You skip breakfast, not intentionally. You just don't have anything easy, and buying something feels irresponsible right now. At lunch, you check the menu and order the second cheapest thing, not the cheapest, that would feel too obvious. You get paid $2,400 a month. After rent, after your phone bill, after the subscriptions you forgot you had, after the credit card minimum you've been paying for 11 months, you're left with maybe $300, sometimes less. You tell yourself you'll start budgeting next month when things settle down, next month when you get that raise, next month when life gets easier. But next month arrives wearing the same clothes as this month. You're not spending on luxury, you're spending on the feeling that things are okay, the $14 meal, the $9 coffee on a hard Friday, the online order at 1 a.m. that arrives 3 days later and makes you feel nothing. You're not bad with money, you just never learned what money is actually for. And that single gap, that one missing piece of understanding, is quietly deciding your future, right now, while you sleep. Stage 1, the drift. It started quietly. You graduated, or maybe you didn't, and life handed you a salary and called it freedom. $28,000 a year, maybe $32,000. Enough to feel like an adult. You got an apartment, you split it with someone, you bought things to make it feel like home. A lamp, a rug, things that seemed necessary. Your parents never really talked about money, not the real stuff, not compound interest or net worth or why credit card debt is designed to trap you. They talked about working hard, paying bills, staying out of trouble. So you did that. You paid your bills, mostly on time. You worked hard, mostly without direction, and you drifted. Not forward, not backward, just sideways. The months moved fast. The savings account stayed empty. The credit card crept upward, $400, then $900, then $1,400, never alarming enough to panic, never small enough to ignore. You told yourself this was normal, and in a way it was. That's the cruelest part, because normal at 23 becomes suffocating at 28. What felt like treading water becomes a slow pull toward a current you didn't see coming. Your friends seemed fine. Their Instagram said so. Trips, dinners, new clothes. You didn't know they were also lying in bed at midnight, checking the same app, feeling the same weight. Nobody talks about it. So everyone performs okay. And the drift continues. The shift. Broke isn't a bank balance. It's a belief that this is just how things are. Stage 2. The comparison trap. Someone from your hometown just bought a car. A real one. New, with a bow in the driveway photo on Instagram. You feel something complicated. You tell yourself it's happiness for them. But underneath, it's the quiet panic of falling behind in a race you didn't know you entered. You start comparing. Jamal from your college class just got promoted $58,000. You saw it on LinkedIn. You looked at your own profile afterward and felt ashamed of how little had changed. Sarah from your first job is talking about investing. She mentioned something called an index fund in a group chat, and you nodded along like you knew what that was. You didn't Google it. That night, you spend $47 on dinner you didn't need with people you don't feel close to, because staying home felt like losing. This is the stage most people live in the longest. The spending isn't about pleasure anymore. It's about proof. Proof to yourself, proof to others that you're doing okay, that you're keeping up, that 25 looks the way 25 is supposed to look. But underneath the performance, the $14 cocktail, the weekend trip charged to the card, the new outfit for the Monday meeting, underneath all of it, the number in your account is still small and getting smaller. You move $200 to savings. 3 days later, you move it back. You feel guilty. Then you forget. Then you do it again. The problem isn't willpower. The problem is that nobody showed you what the point of saving actually was. Nobody made it feel real. Nobody said this is the version of you that either exists at 35 or doesn't. Don't close this. What comes next is the exact moment everything either shifts or calcifies, and you need to know which side of that line you're on. Stage 3, the fork, the moment that changes everything. It happens differently for everyone. For some people, it's a medical bill, an unexpected $900 charge that should have been manageable, but isn't. And they sit in their car in the hospital parking lot, doing math on their phone that doesn't add up, and something cracks open inside them. For others, it's a conversation. A coworker, not more talented, not more educated, mentions casually that they just hit $10,000 in savings, like it's nothing. Like that's just a thing people do. And you realize it is a thing people do, just not you. Not yet. And then there's the third kind of moment, the one that visits you alone, late, when no one is watching. You open a calculator, you type in your salary, you subtract rent, bills, debt, minimum, groceries. You look at what's left, and then you multiply it by 12, and then by 5. You sit with that number. That is your next 5 years, if nothing changes. That moment is quiet. No dramatic music. No revelation. Just a cold, specific understanding of what the drift actually costs. Some people close the calculator and go back to scrolling. Some people don't. The ones who don't, they don't suddenly become motivated. They don't find discipline overnight. They just stop pretending the problem isn't there. They stop agreeing with the comfortable lie that it'll work itself out. They start asking a different question. Not how do I make more money? Not yet. First, what do I actually believe money is for? Because if you believe money is for spending, you'll spend it. If you believe money is dangerous or confusing or for other kinds of people, you'll keep it at arm's length. But if you start to believe, slowly, imperfectly, that money is a tool you're allowed to use, something quietly begins. The shift. The decision isn't about money. It's about whether you believe you're someone worth building a future for. Stage 4. The slow build. You don't change overnight. Week 1, you write down every expense. It takes 20 minutes. You feel embarrassed by what you see. Week 2, you miss a day. Then 3. Then you restart without making it mean something terrible about you. You open a high-yield savings account. The interest rate feels laughably small, but you put $50 in it, then $80, then $120. You start reading. Not motivational content, not lifestyle gurus, just basic, honest information about how money actually works. Compound interest, emergency funds, the difference between an asset and a liability, concepts you should have learned at 18. You feel angry for a moment, at the school system, at your parents, at the culture that sold you sneakers and subscriptions instead of this. Then you let it go. Anger doesn't compound. Knowledge does. You tell a friend what you're doing. They seem uncomfortable. They change the subject. You realize people who are still drifting don't always want to hear from someone who stopped. You feel the distance begin. Not drama, just distance. You start making small, consistent decisions. You eat out 4 times a week instead of 9. You cancel 2 subscriptions you genuinely forgot you had, $31 a month, back in your pocket. You stop buying things to feel better and start sitting with the discomfort long enough to understand what it actually wants from you. Nothing about this feels heroic. It feels ordinary, quiet, sometimes boring, but the account number changes, slowly, month by month. The number changes. It's 11:52 p.m. You're in bed again, phone in hand. You open the banking app. The number is different now. Not life-changing. Not yet. But different enough that you don't feel the old dread. Different enough that the math works this month, and last month, and the month before. You remember the version of you who opened this same app 2 years ago and felt that quiet shame. You don't judge him. He wasn't lazy. He wasn't irresponsible. He just didn't know yet. He didn't know that the money was never really the point. The point was the belief underneath it. The belief that your future was worth protecting. That the version of you at 35 deserved to exist without panic. That you were allowed to build something. Not for Instagram, not for anyone else, but because you're here, and time is moving, and one day the choices you're making right now will have already been made. You close the app, you sleep. The balance changes slowly, you change first.